Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for my TikTok audience to turn up. I remembered to wear a dark color because usually I'm wearing white. Hello, Twin Baker. I'm usually wearing white and I can't see the letters. I can't see your questions because they're in white writing. So I remembered to wear black, but I'm too hot now. I'm wearing a sweater. Can't get anything right, can I? Okay, so while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from and how old your kids are. You can tell me both or one or the other, but I'd love to know where people are from and how old your kids are. Mostly toddlers on here, on the lives. In coaching, a lot of teenagers, a lot of older kids, but on the live, it's a lot of toddler stuff. So where are you from and how old are your kids? I'm here in just a second. Oops. Got all my paperwork out on display there, which I probably shouldn't do. all my financial stuff is all right behind me, just for everyone to see. It's silly sometimes. Okay, so where are you from and how old are your kids? While we're waiting for people to turn up. Oh geez, it's 2:00 on a Sunday. I don't think I've ever been on at this time. I'm on here every day, but I'm not usually on at this time. I'm from, is that Montana? I don't know. And my daughter's 2.5. So you're right in the thick of the toddler times. Toddlers are my least favorite age. I love them when Massachusetts. Okay, I love them when I had them at home. But whenever you go out with the toddler, you just have to watch them constantly. You can never relax because they're so dangerous, right? They don't know what they're doing. Walk in front of a truck or something. Nashville, Tennessee. Not a parent, but nanny to 15-month-old. Okay, welcome. I get a lot of teachers and principals and that watching. Some of this stuff is crossover, but a lot isn't. Like I couldn't teach and I couldn't be a nanny. Like, a lot of it's not crossover. You can't crossover, but a lot of it you can. Okay. Oh, good question. I'm going to answer this. Actually, I'm going to do a video on that. This is from Christy. What do you teach kids to do when they're angry? Okay, just a sec. What do you teach kids to do when they're angry? Not much. I'll get into that in a second. I'm going to answer that. But first, I'm just going to introduce myself. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, that's everything I've got to offer on there. That's my coaching. My behavior board is completely free. And I have 4 courses, 3 toddler ones and 1 big one. That is my 3 to 12-year-old. That's the Bratbusters boot camp if you want to learn how to be a leader in 5 weeks. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. Christy asked, what do you teach kids to do when they're angry? Not much. It sort of happens organically. When they're really little, you can't teach them much, okay? But as they get older, if they do tend to have a temper, I would just say to my son who had tantrums, and he was more inclined to have a temper. It calmed down after like 3. But I would just say, go in your room and scream into a pillow. That's about it. They learn organically by watching you. You are setting an example by being calm. They are watching you. You are modeling calm behavior. That is how you teach them. That's why you ignore all that stuff. You just let it go unless they're getting violent, and you're modeling calm behavior. Like if a kid was going berserk and I was looking after them, I might look at them and go, whatever. I'm just waiting. It's like I'm just waiting for them to stop. They will eventually learn. They're watching you. They're not listening to you. They're watching you. Okay, so if you're not going to react and freak out and try and, okay, here's what you do, you don't do any of that. Then you become part of the problem. You don't want to become part of the problem. You're over there. It's like, you know what? I'm calm over here. I'm waiting for you to join me. I'm not going to join you in your craziness. I just don't. Why would I? It's just, I've never seen it work. My daughter is 8 and I don't know what to tell her. Okay, if she's got anger issues at 8, I don't know what's going on there. You might want my Bratbusters boot camp course, because when you're a leader, they tend to calm down emotionally. She's 8 years old. She should sort of have that under control. When you're a leader, they tend to be confident, have high self-esteem, and their emotions are pretty regulated because they have a leader. So work on your leadership skills. That's a bit of a tell. If she's still having anger issues at 8 years old, work on your leadership skills. It just doesn't tend to happen when you're a leader. That's what I teach you. Remember, we're not fixing kids, we're fixing and teaching parents here. I teach parenting. What about if they don't want to eat their food? That can be a million different reasons. I don't know what the reason is there, but I will, and I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't get into that in great detail, but I will tell you what I did with my kids. I'm a health food nut. I made everything from scratch, and they knew if they didn't eat their broccoli, there was no ice cream and potato chips waiting for them. I didn't have that junk in the house. So they knew that you've got this, eat the healthy food or nothing. So they were good eaters. My son was more fussy, but he ate a lot of vegetables and fruit. And I mean, he didn't have any, I had no ice cream and potato chips in the house. So yeah, I just didn't have junk food in the house. So they learned to eat. You know, if they think there's ice cream in the freezer and they got a chance at that, if they don't eat all their healthy stuff, good luck with that. It's not going to work. Okay. Oh, I can push my hair back because I'm wearing something dark. I can actually see your writing. Okay. Oh, no, no. Oh, what you do works with my dogs, and I think it's cute. I have had dogs my whole life. This is the first time I haven't had dogs. I am horrible with dogs. They walk all over me. They are totally in charge. So I am useless with dogs. So if you can make all this stuff work with dogs, you're better than I am. I could never do it. They walked all over me. I had no control over my animals. None. Ah. Okay. She doesn't get that angry. Just when she's irritated, I'll tell her no or be nice to her sister. Why do you tell her no if she's irritated? I don't say no to any emotions. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I can't, I'd have to assess that. If you want my help, you'd have to hire me with that. I have to figure out why and why she's not being nice to her sister, why she's not being respectful to her sister. That's still leadership, I'm guessing. Everything starts and ends with you. Their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. So it just is. Their basic personality, their basic nature they're born with, but their personality, or pardon me, their behavior is on you. So yeah, you got to lead in the right way. But yeah, I don't tell kids no if they're irritated. I wouldn't do that. Like, does it work? What if you're irritated and someone said, no, don't be irritated? Would you not be, wouldn't you be more irritated? Yeah, I would say so. I wouldn't say that. Oh, it's very slow today, which is kind of nice. I tend to talk really fast and get frantic when I get a lot of people in here because I don't want to miss any questions, but I inevitably miss a bunch. Okay, I think my son is overly affectionate. I would like tips on how to set limits. Well, how old is he? Is he 2 or 22? Or boundaries, he's only 19, 19? NO, that's months maybe? He's only 19. Yeah, he can't learn that yet. You can't teach him that yet. He's too little. So yeah, you got to wait a while. Too little for that. I'm going to read you my top 5 tips for toddlers. This is if you're parenting toddlers. These are my top 5 tips. Number 1 is childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with your toddler, enter their world. Get down on the ground and play like they do. Go to the park and roll down the hill with them. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You play in their world. That's how you connect with them. They start to look at you differently. That's part of your leadership, is connecting with them. Number 4 is stop with the mini therapy sessions when you're trying to discipline them. You know, all the talking about feelings and all that garbage. It's absolute crap. That was invented to feed the mom's needs. It has nothing to do with the toddler. Nothing. It's garbage. Okay, and number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They're not figure-outable yet. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They have one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Okay, don't try and figure them out. You know, they're just cute. They're just toddlers. They're just crazy. They haven't developed sanity yet. So that's my top 5 tips. My toddler just doesn't listen. Right. I just read out why. Don't try and figure them out. My toddler just, okay. Jaron, you are one of our favorite parenting coach. We didn't want a third, but the only alternative was, okay. What you're talking about is, well, I don't comment on gentle parenting because I've never, ever looked it up. I stay in my lane. I'm very careful about that. Kids taught me everything. But there are 2 very specific styles of parenting. The old-fashioned authority style, which my way or the highway, it's not a bad way to parent. Those kids tend to rebel in the teen years, but they come out the other end respecting their parents for all the work they put into them. Then they're on the other spectrum. There is the pleaser parent. That's the one who tries to roll out the red carpet, make everything easy for their kids, discussing all their big feelings all the time, no matter how rotten the kid is. You're trying to have all these mini therapy sessions with them. It's just, you look like a dish rag, and your kids never respect you. They rebel during the teen years, and they come out the other end, self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. Those are the two spectrums. I'm exaggerating. Yes, I do that. But I don't do either of those. I'm the leadership. I'm the leadership parent. I give respect to get it. I want kids to have high self-esteem, have a voice, and be self-disciplined. I don't want to have to tell kids what to do. They know the rules. They know what has to be done. They do it. They understand you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. They understand that. They're self-disciplining, okay? You don't want to roll out the red carpet. You want the home life to be wonderful, but when they go out there in the world, don't go and try and protect them from bad teachers and all that stuff. Just teach them, empower them on how to handle things themselves. The best thing you can do. You know when that pleaser parent style started? I remember seeing this 30 years ago, the freaking participation awards. Is that the stupidest thing you've ever heard of? And moms used to even go in and complain, even though their kids didn't turn up for that game, they still wanted them to have a participation award, even though they didn't participate. Like, what a bunch of garbage. So you don't have to do anything, and you just get an award. How entitled is that? How stupid is that? That was the dumbest thing I ever heard of. Anyway, I said we're going to be raising all these self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. Look where we are now. Drug problem is at a drug problem. A lot of that starts with mental health issues. So the drug problem is just epidemic. Mental health depression among young people is just awful right now. Teachers are quitting right, left, and center because kids are being sent to school all entitled and difficult to deal with, and the teachers just can't handle it. Their hands are tied. They can't even discipline kids anymore. They look at a kid the wrong way, and the mother goes in and takes them to court. I mean, it's just gotten so out of control. Yeah, you're not doing your kids any favor. You're actually, it's the opposite. So. How to address 3-year-old yelling to interrupt instructions, yelling to interrupt. So they're interrupting. So I would just put down no interrupting. I would put it on the behavior board. If you look on the link above, you can find my behavior board. It's completely free. And it starts at the age of 3. And I would put no interrupting. I used to tell my kids, if I'm talking, because I was a stay-at-home mom, I was with them all the time. And when I was talking on the phone or had a friend I was talking to, you do not interrupt me. That was just not done. And I used to say to them, if you interrupt me, you better have a bone sticking out of skin or an artery spurting blood. That's it. Anything else doesn't count. So they never did, because they knew there would have been a consequence for that. They would have not had TV that night or something. There would have been a consequence. You don't just tell kids what not to do. You have to say, well, you did that. You knew that was wrong. So here's the consequence. So put down the behavior board. No, the rule is no interrupting. The consequence is they have to help with laundry or something. If they won't do that, then it's 24-hour media blackout. They soon learn. We all learn through consequences. That's how we learn to be accountable. We'd probably never pay taxes or pay our rent if we knew we never had to. If someone just said, you should, would you do it? Maybe, maybe not. There's consequences. If you don't pay your taxes, you go to jail. If you speed down the freeway, you might get a ticket. You see, there's got to be consequences. That's what keeps us all in check. Why is it any different with your kids? Okay, you're talking to someone else, I guess. Telling him to pick up a toy and yells so he does hear it. I don't know what you mean. So he doesn't hear it. You know, okay, I don't know how old that kid is. You can't really expect kids to do chores until they're 3 years old. It's not reasonable. You can have them helping out, guiding them along the way, try and make it fun, when they're really little, but not once they're 3 years old, I wouldn't. But anyway, I don't repeat myself. If I say, get your shoes on, we're heading out the door, we'll be leaving in like 2 minutes, so get your shoes on. If it's not done, I'm walking down the hallway, grabbing the kid, carrying them out the front and putting their shoes on in the car. I don't repeat myself. Yeah. Yeah, pregnant again, have an 18-month-old. Okay, so you're going to have an 18-month age gap and you want to know how to keep kids in line. You got a toddler and a newborn. I can't help you with that, really. It's just going to be, it's physically demanding. I can't make that easier for you. All I can say is just make sure mom and baby are happy and healthy, and that's about it when you got a newborn. The toddler, you cannot prepare a toddler for how their life is going to change when a newborn comes into the house. How could you possibly explain that to them? It's impossible. So yeah, it's just going to take some time. It's a rough go. It's a rough time. Some kids are very passive. My son there was a 5-year split, but both my kids were more on the passive side. I know that they wouldn't have cared if a newborn came into the house. They just wouldn't have. It just wasn't in their nature. But a lot of kids don't, because they knew I was still a leader when they were little too. They kind of understood that when they were really little. So, but anyway. You said, I mean, once they've calmed down. Just a second. I want to find what you're talking about there. So you're saying don't even discuss with your toddler meltdown why they're feeling mad. Absolutely not. What's the point? Tell me what the point is. You already know. They're mad because they didn't get their own way. Why on earth would you discuss that with them? If you can explain that to me, by the way, some of my clients are child psychologists. They've never come up with an answer to that. Not one, not ever. Never. Why on earth would you discuss that with a toddler? Makes no sense. You mean a therapy session with a toddler? Why would you do that? Can't think of one reason. I'm going to tell the swing story. This explains why you don't do that. Perfect example. It's a true story. My son was 2. I took him to the park. There was another mom there. She had a 2-year-old boy. We both had 2-year-old boys. And I hadn't met her before, but I'd sort of seen her around. She was new. So we're chatting. We're both putting our 2-year-old boys in the 2 swings that are there. So we're chatting. Hi, how are you? How long you lived here? All that stuff. So we're chatting. We both put our boys in the swings at the exact same time. Both boys went, and they pointed to the other swing. They wanted the other swing. So we're like, well, let's just switch them. Who cares? We're just trying to talk here. Like, come on, let's switch them around. They both start having a tantrum right away. Like, they're nuts, right? 2-year-olds are just nuts. So anyway, there were 2 benches. So I took my son to one, she took her son to the other. Here's how it went on my side. My son went to run back I sat him down and he went to run back to the swing. I put my arm out really quickly and blocked him. He already knew I was a leader anyway. So he kind of knew that. So then he just sat there. It was only for like 2 minutes. It wasn't even a big tantrum because he already knew. He already understood at this point. The sooner he calms down, the sooner he's going to get on that swing. He already knows me. He knows this. So anyway, he calmed down pretty quick. And I said, oh, you all done? Okay, let's go back on the swing. He's swinging away, having a grand time. That other kid, she's trying to hug him, talk to him about, you shouldn't feel that way. You know, if you just ask night, and the kid's screaming, it's making it worse. Attention is tantrum food. Anyway, blah, 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 and he's having a fit. 20 minutes this went on for. And my kid's having a blast, just, swinging back and forth. So anyway, 20 minutes, he finally stopped. He did the hiccup cries. He's finished. He's all done. Instead of saying, okay, let's go back on the swing, what did she do? She had a mini therapy session with him. Now, if you just, she went through the whole scene, what he did wrong and what he should have done. And then another 10 minutes of that, finally, my son was tired of swinging. So 30 minutes later, then we left. And she was, I guess, getting him back on the swing. They were both an absolute mess. Now, you see the difference? My son knew I ignore the crazy and I reward the calm. I'm guiding him into nice behavior. I'm guiding him into doing the right thing. Which kid was happier? The one getting the therapy session or the one that didn't get it? Think about it. That was like 30 minutes of hell for that mother and that kid. My son had 2 minutes of hell. I had no hell. I didn't care. I knew what I was doing. Does that make any sense, though? That's why you don't discuss it. What is the point? Why focus on that stuff? What's the point? It would be like if you're speeding down the freeway and a cop pulls you over and says, do you know why I pulled you over? Yeah, I'm very guilt-ridden. If I do something, I own it right away. So I'm just speeding, put me in jail, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, okay, so here's a ticket. Do they stand there and berate you and discuss it? No, they say, okay, well, drive carefully, have a nice day. They end on a happy note. You want to focus on the good kid, deal with the bad behavior. Tantrums are not bad, by the way. You deal with bad behavior or behavior that you don't want. Just deal with it or ignore it. And then you focus on the good kid. Which kid do you think was mentally healthier, like happier? Right? Does that make sense? So that you don't grow up and ignore your emotions as an adult. Who says you ignore emotions? It doesn't work that way. As they grow up and they get their vocabulary and they're talking to you nicely, yeah, we talked about everything. My kids had a voice, and every kid I've ever worked with has told me a lot. So yeah, you want to be a safe place to land. But I don't listen to snotty behavior or snotty tones of voice or anything. I don't discuss any of that. They learn very quickly how to speak to me, which is with respect. Like I speak to them. I never yell or anything. I'm very respectful. I'm modeling what I want from them, and they learn very quickly. I've worked with hundreds of kids, toddlers, teenagers, disabled children, children with all sorts of challenges, teenagers with all sorts of stuff going on. And yeah, you don't, yeah. And anyway. In New Zealand, I think cops are good. Well, I spent 20 years in Australia, and I've been to New Zealand. Um, Actually, yeah, I don't know about that, but I cannot go on enough about this. I know it's very popular.